wondering, what is living in LA really like? Is everyone just fake as fuck? Is it hot all the time? Are people shallow? Is everybody extremely hot? Does it feel like you're in Victoria's attending Hollywood Arts High School? I don't know where that one came from. We don't talk about that in this video. Not gonna lie, this whole setup has me feeling cozy as fuck. We're ready to get into some very serious tea. The truth about LA, what it's really like living here, what I think about sort of the stereotypes and the things that like I had heard before moving here and whether or not I found those to be true. I moved to LA at the end of August, which means I've officially been here for 6 months. Obviously, I've been here for 6 months, like that's a decent amount of time, but it's not enough to get like a full sense of the city. So I'm not gonna claim to be an expert. My perspective is obviously limited by the area I live in, the people I've met, but I do think that my experiences prove that the image of LA in people's heads is not the only way that it can be experienced. I'm gonna structure this talking about each of the stereotypes, starting with probably the number one thing I remember people telling me when I was thinking about moving to LA, and the number one, I think, bad rumor is that everybody is fake. That everyone's fake, that you're not gonna be able to make any genuine friends, that everyone just wants to use you, that no one's genuine, everyone's just putting on a facade. And I'm about to spill something that might be a little controversial. I think that people need to stop blaming their bad social situations on cities. I said what I said. There are good people and there are bad people everywhere. I stand by that, and I'm not saying that there isn't changes in social culture in different areas. Like obviously people that you meet in Tennessee are not going to be the same as people you meet in New York City, right? Like there are cultural differences and it's valid to think that you'd be better suited somewhere else. But making a statement like everybody in LA is fake seems so out of touch and not true in my experience. I also think that a lot of the people that I feel like that originates from are people that would be in industries or circumstances where you're more likely to encounter fake people. For example, influencers being like, oh my God, everyone in LA is fake. The entertainment industry with a bunch of like really rich people who are really successful, you're way more likely to find fake relationships in that sphere than you are if you're like a dentist. You know what I mean? And I think people forget that yes, there is this sort of like influency, famous celebrity, social climbing part of LA, but that is like in actuality such a small percentage of the people here. And also even for someone who is directly plugged into the art and entertainment industries in LA, everyone I met has been literally divine. Like I've met the best people of my life here. I've met more genuine people with more depth than I met in college in like rural New Jersey and New York. You'd think those are places where people are more real, but I've met so much more genuine people in LA. And I think that just goes to say, like, you can find genuine people anywhere. If you're searching for fakeness, if you are bitter towards the world, like, yeah, you can still find that. You know, you can still find that anywhere. It's really about, I feel like, what you're expecting. You know, if you go into things expecting the worst, like you're not giving yourself a good shot at meeting genuine people. If you realize that you're in with a group that there is a lot of this fakeness culture, like there's nothing stopping you from going out and seeking other friends. I think I used to also play the victim card a lot with social situations with friends where I'd be like, oh, like I've had such bad luck with friendships. Like everyone ends up playing me or like ruining my life. Like I used to be so dramatic talking about my old friendships, but looking back on that now, I'm just like, no one was forcing you to stay in a friendship. A friendship is voluntary. So I was complaining about these situations, but the truth is, as soon as I realized that this was someone I wasn't interested in hanging out with or started seeing those warning signs that maybe this person was fake, I could have cut them off. I could have gone and looked for someone else. But it's a lot easier to just sort of play victim and blame your surroundings. So this is me as someone who has also been in this mentality, reminding you that if you're blaming everything on your location, you can build your life the way you want it, especially in a city where there's so much variety. There's all different types of people doing all different types of things. And sort of jumping off of the whole fake friends thing is the stereotype that everyone in LA is shallow. Shallow in different ways. Shallow in terms of appearance, but also shallow in terms of clout, money, social climbing, all of that. Sure, there's a reason why the stereotype exists. Yes, there is some of that culture here. People definitely put more care and money into their appearances here than they do in other places, and I'm not trying to like brush over that, but again, I think it's a situation where it's a little more nuanced. I also don't think that people putting time and effort into their appearance always necessarily equates with this shallowness that everyone thinks. There's also this image of like the stereotypical LA girl You know, she's blonde, she has maybe lip injections, she goes out a lot, but she drinks green juice. Like, that's stereotypical LA girl to me. Not only do I think that that stereotype is judgmental and harmful, because like none of these things are inherently bad, and I think it's weird that we judge them so harshly. But again, I think that that image and this idea of LA people as these shallow, obsessed with themselves, like obsessed with their appearance, is again focusing on such a slither of the population here and ignoring like a huge percentage of the city. Even within like the entertainment influencer space, which like I do sort of feel like I've been plugged into during my time here. I think it's weird and judgmental to assume that anyone who cares about how they look or cares about their social media platforms is this like shallow, soulless, disinteresting like type. And I think that there's so much judgment towards that in general. I've even heard amongst my friends, people being like, oh, look at those like losers filming TikToks, like frowning upon plastic surgery, all of these very judgmental tendencies that we sort of excuse by framing it as like, oh, we just like natural people who are chill and don't care about this whole social media thing. Those people that care about likes, they're so shallow, they're so stupid. And I think it's still toxic. Like, you're still being judgmental. So yes, there is an image-driven culture. You know, you're gonna meet more people that have gotten work done or who get their hair done regularly. And personally, I don't find that bothersome. If anything, I find that the most liberating, because knowing that I might want to do that in the future, like knowing that it's more accepted here and that there's people that I can ask about it and stuff like that, is honestly comforting. But yes, it does exist, but again, it's not the whole picture. Like, if you're thinking about moving to LA and that's just not you, there's people for you here. There's a ton of people for you here, you know? It is such a small percentage, but I guess my point is to say that assuming that percentage is not a viable option to be friends with, or immediately judging them based on them caring about these surface level things, I think is like a total misjudgment and like not fair at all. Because, you know, some of the people I've met who do social media more seriously or who care about their appearance, whatever, are some of the best people I've met here and some of the kindest and most genuine. So that's my little rant about people being shallow in LA. I do want to say that something that's not always great is that there is this sense of name dropping and kind of, I guess, clout chasing. Like, I've really noticed the name dropping more, and I think it's often innocent, but just like people do tend to have connections here to like more famous people. Everyone kind of does it. They like flex who they know, who they've met. And because of just sort of the way LA is, a lot of people do meet / cross paths with, you know, famous people. And yes, there is this sense of name dropping, but for the people who have been here for a while, there's also this sense of casualness where they don't really care about fame anymore because they're so close to it. So I don't think that, in my experience, LA is that much more fame obsessed than the rest of the country. If anything, being so near and connected to it kind of makes people not care as much about it, or maybe they care at first and they're dropping all these fancy names, but then they realize, oh, these are just normal people. Like, I don't need to be flexing it or worrying about fame, if that makes sense. I think there's also this rumor that like everyone in LA is just obscenely hot, that like the standards are really high. You know, you've probably heard it before, like a 10 in Indiana is a 2 in LA type of thing, which is, it's funny, but is that true? Is there this sense of rising beauty standards? Does it feel like I can't measure up now that I'm in this pool of just infinitely hotter people? No? Yes, like I said, there is this sense of, oh, there's more attractive people around. I'm not gonna deny that. Sure, that's a thing. People do sort of care after their appearances a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a priority here, which again, I don't think is a bad thing. It's not great to just be focused on your image, but you know, there's nothing wrong with someone hitting the gym and wanting to dress well, you know? And I won't lie, that's something that I have experienced since moving here, is like some struggles with my confidence. I think it is linked to the fact that like I've made friends with these people who are more close to the beauty standard than me. In that sense, it is kind of true that this hotness makes it harder to be confident. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think it's a matter of what pool you're looking at. If you're looking at the influencers that you know live in LA, you might have this idea that, oh my God, everyone in LA just fucking looks like this. This is ridiculous. But if you go out onto a street and take a look at the average ass people, that's not how it is. It's very much like that in the social media entertainment industry, which is what everyone seems to think of when they think of LA. But there's an entire fucking city here, and not everyone is just like the hottest thing since sliced bread, you know? Sliced bread is not hot. I don't know why that was my analogy there. Let's talk about safety. I thought it'd be fun to switch up the location. I like this because it feels like we're just hanging out, you know, we're just chilling, we're just vibing. Safety, feeling safe. This was a big thing for me when I was first thinking about moving to LA, where like the people in my life were scared for me because like I've never lived in a major city, you know, and it was really intimidating from the perspective of feeling safe, feeling comfortable in my day-to-day life, feeling comfortable walking around by myself. Like that's something that honestly took some time to be able to do. And I guess this isn't so much a stereotype because I don't feel like LA has this reputation as a super unsafe city, but it is just something that I think is important to talk about when we're talking about what living in LA is really like. I guess the main thing that I can say, and again, like I'm speaking to this from a very specific experience of living in a more suburban area where there's lots of young people, there's lots of young girls that walk around by themselves. So like I've been fortunate enough to live in an area where I feel safe. And I think that the key to just like being able to live in LA and feel comfortable is just like knowing where you can live, knowing what areas you can go to at what times of day, like being smart about it. I think it's this way with any city, with any area. You just need to talk to other people. I especially value the opinions of other girls because I do think that there's this added layer of fear that comes with being a girl in a city that men don't really experience. You know, they might feel comfortable in an area where you don't feel comfortable. Just like asking friends and just word of mouth. Oh, is this area good? Have you heard about this area? You begin to build up a solid understanding of what areas you can go to, what areas maybe you shouldn't go alone, but you could go with someone else and you'll be fine. You really start to build this idea of the city for yourself and what your boundaries are. Once you've established that, like it's a lot easier to feel safe than I think I expected it to be. I've at least gotten to the point where I can feel comfortable walking around my neighborhood. And when I first moved to LA, I was not like that. You know, I definitely had this built up fear of like, oh, I'm in a city now. Like I didn't want to go anywhere alone. I didn't want to walk around alone. I would have constant anxiety from the point I left my apartment to the point where I got to, you know, the coffee shop I was walking to. But the longer I spent, you know, doing it, going through the motions, as well as seeing other young girls in the area by themselves, that was really helpful. I've had to go to Hollywood Boulevard for different things at night. And Hollywood Boulevard is known to not be the nicest area. It's true, I would agree. It's not that great over there. It's a little chaotic, a little crowded, not the safest place to be. Those experiences, yes, they were scary in the moment, but they did help build my confidence and they made me realize if I'm with people, if I walk with confidence, if I don't entertain anyone who tries to speak to me, I can feel a little safer knowing that I'm making, you know, precautionary moves and taking care of myself. All right, there's two more stereotypes that I want to go through kind of quickly. One is that it's 80 degrees and sunny every single fucking day. I don't think anyone actually believes that, but that's sort of the image of LA planted in people's minds. That was the vision of LA in my mind. You know, no seasons, every day looks the fucking same. And I'm just gonna say that that's straight up not true. Like there are still chilly days. There's days when I've gone out in a sweatshirt and leggings and still been cold. There's like lazy, rainy, cloudy days. For me at least, it is the perfect amount of variation because I like hot weather. I don't care that I'm missing out on the fucking 2 degrees freezing rain shit, you know? Like I can go visit my home in New Jersey if I want to experience that. But like for me, it's the perfect amount of variation where there still is a sense of the seasons. Like it still gets cooler during the winter without needing like a heavy jacket. I can still have those more like lazy, cozy days while also still having like an 80-degree day in January every once in a while, you know? You still get this sense of like, okay, it's winter, like the days are cooling down, the nights are certainly cooling down, which is nice. There's still a sense of seasons. Also, I feel like I look a little oily. It's kind of bothersome. Do I go powder myself? Okay, I'm gonna powder myself. I'll be right back. That's so fun. Okay, should I do the last one laying down like this? Is that super dramatic? Kind of is, isn't it? I'm gonna do it anyway. Last thing I want to touch on is traffic. I feel like this was another huge one that like whenever I could mention to someone I was moving to LA, they were like, oh, you better be ready for that crazy traffic. And again, I'm like, yes, LA is a huge driving city. Yes, there's traffic, but it's like, at least from my experience, a lot of the traffic is coming into and out of the city. Like not so much if you're moving from one area of the city to another area. Just in in general, I feel like I've adopted as a rule that if I want to get anywhere in the city, it's going to be around 20-30 minutes. It's just something you got to account for sometimes, and I don't feel like it's that much crazier than it would be in any other city or like highly populated area, you know? And again, it's a thing of like being smart. Like, yes, you can't necessarily control what time you have to drive to work, but like for other things, you can choose times where the traffic isn't as bad, you know? You can choose when you grocery shop, you can choose when you go out on the weekends based around the traffic and make it not so bad for yourself. So I think people overhype it. I don't think it's as bad as people say that it is. Like, sue me. Okay, this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as well. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think of when you think of LA. And also if you have any thoughts on the thing I was talking about at the beginning with like people tending to blame everything on their location. Like, have you guys noticed that too? Have you been guilty of it in the past? I know I've been guilty of it in the past. At the end of the day, it's like, yes, again, cities have cultures, cities have pros and cons, but like, it's not the deciding factor of your life. You can create a good life for yourself in LA. You can avoid all of the things that are bad about LA with a little intentionality and effort. And at the end of the day, like, I fucking love the city. I love living here. I love my life here. And I know that there's this general anti-LA culture on social media, and I think it's just people that, you know, have gotten tired of it, which is totally valid. You know, all the influencers and shit moving to New York, like, love that for them. But like, I grew up by New York and you know, the glamorization of New York does not make LA shit, you know? It's all what you're used to. It's all what's exciting and appealing to you. And for me, at least, this city has been everything that I dreamed it would be and more. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I'll see you next week. I love you. Thank you for your support. Okay, bye.